and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to be carrying on my sort of childhood social interaction timeline from last week. So in last week's video I mainly talked about my early childhood up to sort of my middle years, and now I'm going to be talking about my late childhood. So, and this is just in terms of my social interaction and play, friendship development. So I went through most of primary with no friends, or at least no peer group sustainable friendships. Around the age of 9 or 10, sort of very end of my primary school years, I finally made a friend in my class. Her mum was on friendly terms with my mum, which helped matters, as well as the fact that her younger brother was in my brother's year at school. And this girl was like me. I mean, she wasn't exactly in the popular stream. She was sort of like, she was a slow learner. To my knowledge, she didn't have any she wasn't autistic or anything, but she was in the sort of like slow stream because back in those days, I don't know how they do it now, but you were sort of colour banded, and those who were in the slow stream, it was given, I think, right near the bottom was yellow, so I was in the yellow group, which was like pretty much right at the bottom, and she was on my table in that group, so that was the sort of like group where you often had like learning support assistants sort of around you, hovering around you all the time, yeah, like marking you out as a bit weird basically. Wasn't very great, that sort of segregation, but yeah, so she was in a slow stream with me, so she sat on the same table. And yeah, we kind of became friendly towards one another. I mean, yeah, she'd obviously been in my class all the way through school. And as I say, my mum was sort of on friendly terms with her mum at the school gates, and her brother was in my younger brother year. And I think my mum kind of like got talking to her mum, and it was arranged that she should come round to my house, you know, for tea, and that was kind of like, the friendship was sort of encouraged that way. I did go round to her house a few times as well, but she mainly came round to my house more often than I going round to her house. But yeah, so I sort of developed a friendship with her, and we had some good times together. It was quite a rocky friendship though, because we sort of like fell out quite a lot. But when we were friends, I do have some very fond memories of that time. Because as I say, I was late to friendship. I didn't really have any friends at all through most of my primary school years in my peer group, and I didn't really have any meaningful friendships at all, so this was a good thing when it finally happened towards the end of my primary school years. Now this girl, unlike me, she did have other friends in the year group, and she had a close friend, another close friend that I wasn't really friends with, but this girl was friends with this other girl, and so she became my sort of only friend, and I became very kind of possessive of her. But she had other friends, and the possessiveness on my part led to some problems, because I could only be her friend and cannot play in I cannot play in groups, no matter how big the group was. I couldn't play in groups. So therefore, whenever her other friend wanted to play with her, I was all alone again. Whenever she came over to my house for tea, she let me play with her at school all day. It was kind of like there's almost this agreement where when she came round to my house, I could have her all day to myself. But when she went round to her other sort of best friend, then she was taken and I couldn't play with her during the time she was going to go to her other friend's house. So it's kind of quite hit up and down, this friendship. So yeah, and when she was with her other friend, I often ended up annoying her. But yeah, I have good memories though of playing teachers with the girl, and we took it in turns to either be the teacher issuing out punishment or the naughty kid. When she came over to my house, it was great fun playing teachers, which I loved. It is often said, I mean, there's this stereotype that autistic children can't engage in imaginative play. Now that is certainly the case. For some autistics who never engage in imaginative play at all, but it is like a kind of big kind of spectrum, I guess, and it's kind of depends on the type of autism a person has. So as I say, some will never play it imaginatively at all. I think obviously, like being autistic, it goes without saying that you're going to have problems with imaginative play, and I definitely had problems in that department. Like I couldn't play in groups of kids. I was very possessive and I was very controlling. and I had to dictate the kind of rules of the play, so it was all on my terms. And also, the play I did engage in was very much real life based, so it wasn't kind of like, I don't know if you could call it true fantasy in the sense that it was very much grounded in reality, more for not kind of like reenacting kind of real life scenarios. But that said, it still had an imaginative element to it. I wasn't devoid of imagination, far from it. It's just that it had to be, on my terms. So, yeah, I mean, my main issue growing up, and it still is an issue to this day, but I think particularly when I was at school, because obviously when you're at school you're around other kids, so it's obviously around other people, so it's obviously like more obvious. When you're an adult, it's less obvious because you can choose who you're around. But I had real problems maintaining friendships. I struggled with reciprocal play, so say particularly in groups, I had to be in control. However, as long as I was in control, I could engage in some real life based, like playing at mirrored real life scenarios, kind of a template. So things like teachers, playing school, I love those games. As long as I was in